Hello, and welcome to the Reactionist podcast. I'm Marlena Shibo. Welcome to the first episode of The Reactivist. You know, I thought about a lot of things when recording this episode, and I decided that I just wasn't going to overthink it because there are so many things going on that I could literally start talking right now and not stop until New Year's Eve and not sleep in the in-between, and I still wouldn't run out of things to talk about. So I'm going to start with something simple, and then I'm going to expand on it. I have one of those miniature Pac-Man arcades. What I find fascinating about Pac-Man specifically is that it is the perfect analogy for life, right? You can only outrun your ghosts for so long until they eventually catch up with you and swallow you whole. I want to apply that concept to our current political landscape. Of course I do. I wasn't just going to sit here and philosophize about life. I definitely want to apply it to many things that are going on. So I want to start by talking about Monica Lewinsky. I know, super retro, just like Pac-Man. She is right now modeling for a company called Reformation, and she's using her platform to raise awareness about voting. I find Monica Lewinsky's life fascinating. I think it's completely unfortunate that what happened to her happened in such an early stage of her life, because there is no way you can outrun those ghosts. That was one of the biggest stories back in the 90s, and it will never be forgotten. You know, time usually heals most wounds, or at least makes them feel much smaller than they were. But that particular situation just never, ever shrunk. People stopped talking about her, but her entire life was turned on its head. I was listening to two CNN anchors go back and forth about Monica Lewinsky's latest venture, and one of the commentators said, or the guest on the show rather, said that she did not find Monica Lewinsky's choices in her younger years admirable. Now, you're allowed to have an opinion. That's actually a tenet of my entire life. You're allowed to have your opinion, but I am allowed to have an opinion about your opinion, and that is, what were you doing in your 20s? And if someone was following you around with a video camera, or was recording you in some way, or was able to publicize what you were doing, how would you feel about your choices? Unfortunately for Monica Lewinsky, she was obviously in the Oval Office. And I'm not even going to say what she should have or couldn't have done, and I'm going to tell you why. I truly believe that when you are human, you make choices based on how you're feeling, what you're thinking in that particular time in your life. She's allowed to have emotions. She's allowed to be attracted to the President of the United States. I don't share that attraction. I never did. I never really understood the lure of Bill Clinton at all. So I don't know if I would make the same choices as Monica Lewinsky, but who's to say I wouldn't have made those choices if the man in office was attractive to me, if there was chemistry between us. The core of every person is human. I mean, maybe not Jeffrey Dahmer or something, but most people have normal, average human emotions and feelings. And knowing me, and if I was attracted to my boss, whether he's the president or the head custodian, I can't promise you that nothing would have happened. I definitely would have made more efforts not to get caught. So there's that. Okay, so based on that, you have a young girl who was banished in the media and in society for one choice that she made. And you have an ex-president, or president at the time, who was able to maintain his position in office. Also something that I didn't disagree with. A lot of people thought that he should have stepped down back then. And why? Because he had an affair? We have an entire country that needs running. I'm so sorry that he, cheated on his wife in the Oval Office. To me, it one has nothing to do with the other. There is the work side of life, and then there is your personal life. And sometimes the two worlds get completely entangled, right? Okay. So that brings me to President Biden. I would love to take a survey, and I would love to throw this question out there. Let's just say we have two President Bidens. One doesn't seem like he has the mental capacity to take on another day, let alone 4 more years. Or a President Biden that is fully equipped, fully aware, absolutely capable, and just so happen to have an indiscretion with an intern in the Oval Office. What would you prefer today? Which one is the lesser of the two evils? Which one would you choose? A cheater or somebody who doesn't have the mental capacity to run this country? I have a feeling I know what the answer is. And I guess I don't really need to mention a double standard, but I will mention a double standard just because there is one at all times when it comes to men and women. You have somebody like Bill Clinton. He didn't take a fall in any capacity. Maybe a little criticism, maybe a little gossip, maybe a little page six, but his life just went on. And I do wonder, put somebody else, put a woman in that circumstance. And funny enough, you never really see this much. I mean, you'll see, we read stories about teachers who are fooling around with their students, and it's gross, but I'm trying to figure out what public figure, and you can help me, what female public figure, whether it's a journalist or a senator, where are the scandals there? Where are the sexual scandals there? I can't think of any off the top of my head. I can't think of one woman who has put herself in a situation. I find it extremely funny that you have all these women who were fawning over Bill Clinton back in the day. I was definitely not one of them. I was very young when Bill Clinton. I was graduating college during Bill Clinton's second term, so I definitely wasn't fawning over him. He wasn't even an older man that I found attractive, and I do find older individuals attractive quite often. He was not one of them, not then and not now. But I wonder, put a grown woman in that office with him and have him do exactly the same thing that he did with Monica Lewinsky, or try to do something that he did with Monica Lewinsky. Okay, I would love to see how other women would react. He is the leader of the United States. He is apparently attractive, well, to some people. And he has, I guess, some sort of charm. I mean, I'm sure he has to be charming in some capacity. You can't be a doorknob and or maybe you can, who knows? Maybe if you're the president, you can be the most boring person on the earth, but still bag anybody you want to get with. And then you take a young girl in her 20s and you expect her to make decisions like someone who's lived a full life or someone who's even lived part of a life would. And I can't even promise you that the people who have lived a partial life, say someone in their 30s or someone in their 40s, can you say for certain that you would have done the same thing? I can't promise you I wouldn't have, especially in my 20s. I'm in my 40s and I can't promise you I wouldn't have done the same thing. If you're attracted to somebody, you're attracted to somebody. And it really comes down to what you want to do and how far you're willing to go. And that's in anything in life. So, and everything you do has risks, right? So I can't promise you that I would have done anything differently. I don't know about the cigar aspect. That one I'm a little hung up on. I don't understand. I mean, it's not that I don't understand it. I completely understand it, but I'm a little like, I'm just grossed out by it. But I mean, there's so many body parts involved. Like, why do we need that? But that's probably a conversation for no other day. But because who really cares? I think that Monica Lewinsky got a raw deal, obviously, um, and I think that men fail upwards, and are in some ways, not all, because we saw what happened to Elliot Spitzer, who remained in office in New York for about 5 minutes, and then fell from grace and never to be seen again, maybe on Bill Maher episodes, but I don't really know how the man makes his money these days. And, you have people like Anthony Weiner who never made it back up. However, I can tell you right now that Anthony Weiner is gainfully employed. He may not be in office, he's not working in government, but he's working in media. Um, I just wonder how many women get that opportunity. I should really do a deeper dive into that. I mean, you can't find cases like this when it comes to women. You never hear, um, you don't hear it. You just don't hear it. Why should one thing in your life define the rest of your life? No one got hurt here. I mean, maybe Hillary Clinton, but no one really truly got hurt. No one got physically hurt. You know, hurt feelings doesn't count. I'm sorry. It just doesn't count. You can't hurt someone's feelings one time and then be banished for the rest of your life in any capacity. I mean, that woman couldn't go anywhere unless she changed her name. Why didn't she change her name, by the way? Why wouldn't you change your name? I would change. I don't know what I would do, actually. You know what? I can be so brazen that I would probably just keep going. Maybe that's what she should have done. You know what it is? It's the era she came up in. It was all television, right? So now you have these misfits that have, committed crimes or have done things worse than Bill Clinton and end up with their own podcast. Not me. I got here with a clean slate. I mean, as far as all of you know. So I wonder though if this had happened, right? Kind of like the one that was messing around with Elliot Spitzer. She sort of ended up like kind of an entrepreneur or something. I mean, no one even remembers her name. Probably because you'd have to be in the New York area to even remember who Elliot Spitzer is. And for those of you who don't, you should Google him. No, he actually was the governor of New York for a hot minute until he screwed the pooch, quite literally, and had to resign. And he never made it back into public office. He gave it a go, but the go did not give in to him. So he's banished, probably in the same way that Monica Lewinsky is, but he doesn't have the name recognition that she does. He does have ears for days, though. And that you can't unsee. That you cannot unsee. So, my condolences to Elliot Spitzer's ears. Okay. So I guess the question remains, if it were today, with all the media and the social media and the different avenues and platforms to put yourself out there, would Monica Lewinsky have bounced back quicker? Would she have some kind of no shaming hashtag so many years after the fact, some sort of online campaign? Would it have been that way? I wonder. It could have been. Media has changed everything for better or for worse. Technology, I should say, changed everything for better or for worse. So I feel like what she did in the 90s is child's play compared to what people are doing now. I would much prefer that kind of news. Like, wouldn't you take a story like Monica Lewinsky over a story about tampon dispensers being put in boys' bathrooms or in schools, or kids dressing up as furries, or school communities campaigning for kitty litter to make them to be inclusive. I mean, like, okay, so now let's get back to Monica Lewinsky. Why hasn't she redeemed herself in the eyes of the public at this point? I mean, I guess to some extent she has, since she's out there and doing the fashion stuff, but there are still people who think about her, who can remember her, that will never forgive her for making out with a man that she was attracted to and who was attracted to her. Right? That's all she did. She made out with a guy who was attracted to her and she was attracted to, and she was in her 20s, something that you and I would do in a bar, maybe at every stage of life, depending on who you are and what your boundaries are, and what your boundaries aren't, and how much you let yourself be human and just roll with life and keep it fluid, or what, I find it fascinating that by today's standards, people would run, people would jump at the opportunity to have a president who hooked up with their intern. I mean, that's all. That's what Bill Clinton did. He hooked up with his intern. I, right now, while we have Biden in office and he seems to just keep going, I don't know why they haven't tried to put someone else out there. Democrats, kind of doesn't make any sense. But he doesn't seem capable in any way. They keep propping him up in some capacity to try to make him look like he has all of his faculties in order. And he's proven on so many occasions that he doesn't. And he's human too, by the way. He's an old man. He's an older man. He's elderly. And some people age differently, and he's allowed to. But I just, at some point you take the driver's license away from the elderly, right? So why does he still have the keys to the White House right now? Why? I wish he only hooked up with an intern. I wouldn't get out of bed for that story. I'd say, okay, great. How's the economy? How are the interest rates? How many more wars are we in today? You tell me. How many more migrants have crossed the border today? Okay. Those are the things that we should be focusing on. Not a whole segment on how Monica Lewinsky is now a model. Although maybe that's what she wants. I mean, you don't model unless you want publicity, right? So, I mean, I guess she's getting what she wants. But I say hats off to Monica Lewinsky. I couldn't care less what she does. I mean, she could have opened up a porn shop and I still wouldn't have blinked twice. Or flinched, rather. I think Monica Lewinsky should have opened up a porn shop. No, that's actually really not true. I don't think that she should have done that, but the irony would have been great. And she could have actually done a play on words with all of the items in the store and somehow married those names to the White House. What a name to work with if you own a porn shop. Clinton? I mean, I could go on for days. His name is William Clinton. Willie? Oh my God. I think this was a missed opportunity. Maybe not. She's still alive. She's obviously still vibrant. She's obviously still trying to be entrepreneurial in some way and make a living and make a name for herself, or a different name for herself, or use the name that she already has, or that she's made for herself in a better way. Porn shop, Monica Lewinsky. Who else was in office? Newt Gingrich. Okay, you can't do anything with that. Just the image of Newt Gingrich grosses me out. Like, to the point where I think I would join a convent. I don't think that I could. I don't know. I don't know how much money it would take for me to sleep with Newt Gingrich. Or even kiss him. Oh, man. Maybe alcohol. Maybe alcohol and a nose pin, and I don't really know. I don't know what it would take. It's so gross. Okay, we're not putting him in the sex shop. I don't want to. I don't want to consider anything sexual having to do with Newt Gingrich. Who else was in office back then? Ken Starr. Oh, ew. I mean, we could play on his name, but again, Ken Porn Star. Ew. Why are these people so unattractive? Is that super mean? Of course it is. But it's also super true. It's just incredible to me. And then the needle went all the way in the other direction. You know, all these men got away with this, that, and the other. And then the Me Too movement came along and all the men just became bowling pins, which I'm not campaigning for the men. They made their own bed. And, you know, I'm not going to sit here and litigate for them. I'm just not. I mean, I don't need to talk about double standards. I'm just thinking about the yesterday standards versus the today's standards of what flies and what doesn't. Her entire life, she had to live through carrying that name. And he just kept on being a man. He just kept on being the president. I mean, it just made me think, like, how in this day and age, how great it would be to have the problems of the 90s.